Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Stephenville Town Council public meeting. Today's date is May the 9th. It is 12:05 p.m. I'd like to welcome 11 attendees that have logged on via electronic media. I'd like to recognize our staff and council. We have full council here today, which is great. And I'd also like to recognize we have some guests in our lobby, our beautiful lobby here in Stephenville, New England. It's a beautiful day for anybody that's joining us electronically. And we are always proud to say that Stephenville has one of the best weather records in the province of Newfoundland and Labrador. So if you want a place to live or retire, come to Stephenville. Okay, I would ask a member of council that we call the meeting to order. Moved by Councilor Maurice Hines, seconder. Second, Councilor Deputy Mayor. Stephenville. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Item number 2. Land acknowledgement. We have a lot of history in our province. We respectfully acknowledge the town of Stephenville as the ancestral homeland of different populations of Indigenous people. We also acknowledge with respect the rich histories and cultures of the Beothuk, the Mi'kmaq, Innu, and Inuit of the province of Newfoundland and Labrador. Item number 3, I would ask the member of council that we approve the agenda as circulated.
Mr. Mayor, wonder if there's one item, number 10 under new business. If we could have the motion with respect to committee structure first. I don't know if I can have a seconder on that.
Yeah, I guess we would wait till we get to item number 10.
Okay.
For when I will call it. Discussion for
Okay.
consideration of deferral.
Okay.
Excuse me, so that would be with any other items for request for deferral, yes, same. We would come to that.
Okay,
The
okay.
process would be if something
Yep.
is on the table, on the agenda, that was recommended by planning or finance. When it came to the table to have it removed, no one person, including myself, can't say remove it. It would come through the process of being discussed. Motion second, and remember, we always motion a second before we get into the discussion. Sound good?
Yep,
Sounds
good. No,
okay.
not clarification.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Problem, Councilor Rollins. So we have a mover and seconder, all in favor,
Aye.
Aye.
Carol.
No, we never moved our second yet. No. No, we never.
Just something.
Yeah, we didn't,
We need.
oh, we didn't move,
No.
I'll move the approval of the agenda.
Okay, moved by Councilor Miller, second Councilor Myra White, all in favor,
Aye.
Karen. Thank you very much for that, early. And that was number 4?
Number 3.
Okay, so we're at number 4 now. Approval of the minutes, the public meeting of council minutes that was previously held April 25th, 2024, be approved as circulated. I would ask a member of council that we move for adoption.
I saw
Moved
move.
by Councilor Myra White, seconder.
Seconded?
Second, Councilor Maurice Hines, all in favor?
Aye.
Karen. Are there any matters arising from the minutes? Just hold on a second. Any matters arising from the minutes? Councilor Robbins.
You mentioned last meeting about our enforcement officer going down on Main Street on a Friday for traffic violation and everything else. Did we get any report or status of the activity down there for?
I don't have a report, but I will seek one. I
Well,
have talked to him about various activities that he's undertaken with direction and others, but I don't have a report on what he did in the way of picketing or other of this stuff.
it would be nice to,
Yeah.
good,
Yes,
thank you.
let's get a formal report. I think that's having formal reports from department heads. That's always comes back to management, but at time to time, we as council, it's great that we ask for the report also. Okay, no other matters arising? Proclamations and delegations. I just want to say that we just signed a proclamation to recognize this week as from May 6th to the 12th as Mental Health Week. We know how important it is in the scheme of healthcare initiatives in the province stemming from the health accord. It's been identified that 1 in 3 people from time to time will deal with mental health issues. It is a serious effect on families, communities, and it's just so great that we are recognizing week, bringing it to the attention so that we can find measures to mitigate and to support people who are suffering from mental illnesses.
Correctional officers.
National.
Yeah. And we did have some really good media from our communications director, but this past week, we also signed National Corrections Week. As you well know, we have people that work in corrections here 24/7, 365 days a year. And they play an instrumental role in helping support victims to help rehabilitate and get them back into society as to mitigate, I guess, any issues that was happening prior to their incarceration. So we have a great group of professionals. They do some great community initiatives. I want to say that too.
They do.
Regional with park benches. The town of Stephenville, I think the town of even Boss Wallace had utilized them. And just very grateful for the service that they give to the community.
And also, Mayor Rose, I know we didn't sign a proclamation this week, but if we could acknowledge National Nurses Week as well, May 6th to the 12th.
Can I make a comment on corrections? As a former correctional officer,
Yes.
surprised a lot of people around the table.
Who's a former correctional officer?
I am
Go away.
going away. I can't say enough about them. The best group of people I've worked with, and they're committed to their jobs, and it's nice to see them recognized.
Thank you very much for that. And also too, we didn't sign a proclamation, but it's National Nurses Week.
Yes.
You have a community in Stephenville with medical facilities, private facilities, a 24-hour emergency hospital facility, the Sir Thomas Roddick Hospital, that all the nurses, and there's different levels of nurses from BNs to RNs to LPNs to licensed practical nurses, but all nurses at all levels play an instrumental role in the safety and welfare and the health of our residents. There's been some toughness happening with recruiting and retaining. And there's a lot of demand around the globe, and sometimes money dictates where nurses will go. And there's times we've had to bring in travel nurses because if we didn't, you'd have to shut down departments and so forth. But there's a lot of nurses that have left the profession because it is getting tough out there too. There's a lot of abuse in nursing homes, hospitals, on nurses, and they're to be commended to be a profession that they are steadfast in taking care of the health and well-being. And I get educated quite a bit. My wife and daughters both nurses, so I know the profession very well. But I got to give credit to all Newfoundland Labradorian nurses that give so much to our communities.
Mr. Mayor, if I could add to that, you mean to be a nurse, you mean it takes a special type of individual. I mean, the compassion and the care to show for the patients when they're in the hospital. And you mean, and personally, I mean, in December 2019, I had a massive heart attack. I mean, lucky enough, I made it to the hospital. And with Dr. Bruff on that night and the nursing staff that was on DR, they paddled me 4 times to bring me back. So you mean it's without the nursing staff and at the hospital that night. So you mean we got to be very thankful for the services we got at the hospital and continue to fight for it, and certainly to support the services here, which supports the nurses, which I mean they're the basis of our healthcare system. I mean the nurses on the floor. There's no question about it. And I mean we can come up with all kinds of words to kind of booster it and stuff, but I mean we'll never get all words that should accompany it when you speak of nurses.
Your wife.
Yes, my wife worked in OB and in dialysis, and she went there for the right reasons, to take care of people. And I think all of them do. That's maybe a dying breed, but it's so important. They give nothing but the ultimate care.
I also have a daughter that's a nurse, but unfortunately, she's not in our province. She's in Ontario. But we're very proud.
Yeah, I worked at Old Hospital, as everybody knows, for 33 years and got, of course, knew all the staff, doctors, nurses and everyone, doctors coming and going and et cetera. And I do have a niece and helped I think she's at St. Clair's, work on the critical ward, really where you have all the surgeries and cancer surgeries and all that. She works on that, but we don't have, my immediate family, my children never went into the medicine field, but well, one granddaughter is an ultrasound technologist, but never went into the medical field as a doctor. But you're right, the nurses are, well, actually, nurses are, once you're in the hospital and you're a patient, as Tom would attest to, it's the nurses that take care of you from then on. Once the doctor got his job done, then it's the nurses, right? So yes, they're very badly needed, and they do a great job. I call them, they're our heroes for sure.
Okay, well, thank you very much, that, just got, also, we had a busy week signing proclamations, but murdered Mi'kmaq Indigenous women in our province and the country. I signed a proclamation also on that, and it gets heart-wrenching when you hear the stories. And if anybody hasn't read the book, Pillars of a Flower Moon, based on the Osage Indians and what happened in the US, and I think it was Oklahoma. But there's a movie on it. I haven't seen the movie, I read the book. But what happens in our community, we've had Indigenous women that have been murdered in Stephenville, all around this province, Labrador, or right across this country. And we just heard the latest in Edmonton, I believe, in Alberta, 4 Indigenous women, I believe, were slain and killed. And, let's hope sometime that this will stop. But it's just so unfortunate to hear it, but it's so important for us to recognize it and for those groups to raise the profile, because if we don't raise the profile, it will never stop. Okay. I'm going to turn it over to item number 7 now to our Chair of Finance, Councilor Myro. I take it away.
Thank you. Finance Committee met on May the 6th, 2024, and the following items were recommended for council approval. Item number 1 is accounts payable, May the 9th, 2024. Be it resolved to pay accounts payable for May the 9th, 2024 in the amount of $70,862.69. I so move.
By Councilor Myro White, second.
Second.
Mr. Mayor, as a member of the finance.
Can I get a second or further?
Chairman.
Second, Councilor. Oh, yeah, sorry.
Boys and gold.
Got it. Boys, and I gotta hear any problem.
So we're going to take up question right here.
Okay, Councilor O'Brien, you got the floor.
Okay, the cover off the $70,000, the accounts payable figure, I'll just touch on the bigger items that's on it. The Agatuna drafting and consulting is $7,866. That's for the engineering of Rose Avenue and Pleasant Avenue for upcoming improvements to those 2 streets. The Bell Line, $3,761. 4,642 for Cormier's one-stop auto. I mean, that's repairs to some of our equipment vehicles. $5,763 for crane supply. Again, crane supply is a reoccurring one. We get a lot of our valves and piping and that type of stuff from crane supply. The $6,816.63 for marine contractors. We get tired of looking at them words on accounts payable when it comes to coal patch. I mean, we're forever chasing potholes, and I guess we will well into the future. It's $2,479 for Newfoundland Power for the pole haul. That's basically any time that our public works department is working close to a pole, the pole has to be stabilized for them to carry out the infrastructure work, and Light Power has to attach a boom truck to it to keep it stabilized. For $1,663 there for Storm McCalvary for legal fees. Another $1,727 for equipment repairs. Western Hydraulics and Canada's $9,260. I mean, it's for a hydraulic motor and cutting edges and that for equipment. So it's equipment repairs and that. But I mean, that's the bulk of it. I mean, it's there's a multitude of smaller ones, but I mean, it gets posted on our website anyway if somebody wants to have a look at all the details, but it just covers off the bigger stuff.
And that's the nice thing. We are a public body of public accounts. All expenditures are available to all the public at any time through formal processing requests. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Carry.
Item number 2, expense check listing. Be it resolved to approve the expense check listing as follows. February the 1st to the 29th, 2024, in the amount of $344,183.64. March the 1st to 31st, 2024, in the amount of $301,439.14. And April the 1st to the 30th, 2024, in the amount of $230,875.44. I so move.
Moved by Councilor Myra White, seconder.
Second.
Second by Councilor Darren Roberts.
Mr. Mayor, again, when you look at those three substantial numbers on our report, the total is $908,354.22. So just to touch on the much larger items on those reports, our January gas and fuel consumption was $28,860.46. Our curbside pickup for January was $16,591.94. Our Newfoundland Power charges for January is $48,078.57. So you can see how the number jumps pretty quick there. Our February say payroll contributions for CPP, income tax and EI and that type of thing was $101,506.66. JW Consulting Associates, it was $10,350. That was the consulting firm for the hiring new positions. The municipal growth plan for Upland Planning and Design, the one that we keep pointing out on the wall, $9,858.95. Our pension payment for February was $30,508.62. And our income tax CPP, and that again for February was $42,203.58. The workplace health safety assessment, a lot of people still refers to as workers' compensation for 2024 was $54,495.26. So you mean some substantial numbers there. Our annual grant to Stephenville Historical Society for $12,000 is there. The March income tax, CPP, etc., was $47,939.08. Newfoundland Power for February was $46,884.37. You almost get tired of reading out these large numbers. The beautification committee, part of your annual grant for 2024 is there for $20,000. The March income tax, EI, etc., $47,262. The pension plan for March is $35,738. The income tax for April is $54,233.77. Newfoundland Power for March is $48,180.89. So when you look at the 3 months for the just Newfoundland Power, even it's kind of averaging $47,000 a month, which is substantial. Then there was a special payment made in April to the pension plan, because sometimes you're going to make the special payment in order to keep the pension plan fully funded for 13,223.25. The April income tax, CPP, EI, et cetera, 53,510.43. The pension plan for April is 40,253. And the last one that I'll read was the Stephenville Gardens Corporation, which is part of their operating grant. I think the total operating grant for the whole year is 120 or 140. This is a 30,000 payment towards their annual, the grant of 120, whatever it is. So, but the only thing is, I will point out that the three numbers on our agenda, when you add them up, it's different than what's on the checklist listing.
Like we just.
So
I can speak to that.
some adjustment needs to be.
Originally, when the agenda was sent out, the expense list, check listing that was printed out was right up until May 2nd. And the expense check listings are normally done on a monthly basis.
Okay,
Once you took it off and did the actual month by month,
Okay.
the number is actually 876,498.22. Yeah.
okay, so the in-house corrections have already been done on that, perfect.
Well, Councillor Ryan, the thing is, a lot of these things that you read out, they're monthly things that don't change.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, that goes every month, you know, the light bill, CPP, the pension, that's all a given.
oh, yeah, we're not in control of it.
No, that's right.
And I don't know if that needs to be actually read out, because it's coming from our employees, which we have no choice in the matter to do. So I don't know if that's really is necessary for us to put on the table.
I read them for public knowledge rather than somebody looking at a $900,000 number or $70,000 number, just to give them an indication of where the money is going.
I think from a procedural perspective and a process and a time perspective, like this was 3 months of expense check listing, so it took a little bit longer. But I think even accounts payable, you know, stuff under $5,000 should be read out. I think, $5,000 is the requirement of the CAO to make expenditures, that we would just keep it to the higher numbers like, you're talking about. And just keep it so that, because all of the smaller cost items, if anybody needs details, they can get it on our website. So.
Yeah, but only, I'll point out though, a lot of these expenses turn up on these two reports. I mean, it doesn't come out, the manager's $5,000. No.
These are automatic
Yeah.
expenditures and operational
Yes.
items.
Yeah.
They're pre-approved budget items that council already.
Correct.
And a couple of things too, I just want to say that for people listening, as we grow and expand our town, just like other companies, that we're a very good town to work for. We have good salaries, good pensions. I think we're 9.75 contribution on our pension percentile. But when you look at our big power expenses, maybe it's time in the new year that we can look at getting the energy audit done on all of our buildings to determine should there be funding through the Green Sustainability Fund that we can do retrofits and enhance to get towards net zero. So we can take expenditures of power bills that are 50 grand a month, maybe bring it down to 40.
Yeah.
That noted in new business section.
Did you? Okay.
Okay,
Back a number of years ago, there wasn't an energy audit done of all of our buildings, and that's where the upgrades to the stadium and pool came from. But it doesn't hurt to have it done again, because technology changes within a few years.
And funding changes.
okay, we'll
Okay,
just,
so all in favor?
Aye.
Carry.
item number 3 is a request for operating funds, walkaways, parks and trails. Be it resolved that approval be given to provide the annual contribution of 19,000 to the Walkaways, Parks and Trails Committee. I so move.
Second,
Moved by Councilor Myra White, second by Councilor Tom O'Brien. All in favor?
Aye.
Carry.
Item number 4, request for sponsorship for the Stephenville Theater Festival. Be it resolved that approval be given to provide the amount of sponsorship of 15,000 to Stephenville Theater Festival. I so move.
Moved by Councilor Myra White, second.
Second.
Second, Deputy Mayor Susan Fallow. All in favor?
Aye.
Carry.
Item 5, requests for funds, Stephenville Athletics, training equipment and lime for track maintenance. Be it resolved that approval be given in the amount of $700 towards training equipment and lime to ensure a safe and effective training environment as the Stephenville Athletic Group prepares for the upcoming 2024 Newfoundland Summer Games. I so move.
Moved by Councilor Myra White, second by Councilor Maurice Hines.
Second.
Just want to say that we have a history of exceptional athletes that come out of Stephenville. We've held world competitions in judo here, national competitions in taekwondo. We hold so many records in powerlifting. It's unbelievable. But the summer games with Indigenous games coming on strong too now, that here's an opportunity to support our athletes. And, not that it's, I look at it as an athletic, but even like just nomad stages coming back with all those medals. And when you look at the dance classes, it's really a sport too, because it's so athletic. But we're so blessed to have so much. I know we got a power lifter in the room here now that's in our audience, and Mr. Russell, but we got a lot of medals and a lot of history in this town, powerlifting and with all of our sports. So, and it's so great to see that the gender balance is starting to come together in all forms of sports. We think about the Professional Women's Hockey League. It started this year and it's taken on the North American, like their viewing audience is unbelievable. So I'm just very pleased that we're an inclusive town. We're supporting our groups and so forth.
If I may add to that, looking at this group here, I know that they also support the Special Olympics and they have done extremely well. This same group takes sponsored by the Legion and they go to national competitions. And they have gone well beyond, it's called punching above your weight.
Yeah.
Okay, and they've done that competing against Ontario and Quebec. So this is really a worthwhile program, and for the small amount of money, we get a big bang for our buck.
Mr. Mayor, yourself and Councillor Hines certainly spoke well and how we excel in so many different areas around town. But we would be kind of irresponsible if we didn't send out a very large thank you and appreciation to the people that really make it happen. That's all the volunteers that put so much time into these programs. Without the volunteers, we wouldn't have much.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Carried.
Item number 6, reallocation of funds, Whaleback Ski Club Community Contribution Grant. Be it resolved that approval to be given to the Whaleback Ski Club to reallocate funds previously received for a brush mower to now be used for a trail repairs due to flooding that would routinely occurs. I so move.
Moved by Councilor Myra White, second.
Hey,
Second,
go to Tom.
Councilor Tom O'Brien. I'm just wondering if we could maybe just get staff to just give a little clarity because of the redirect of funds and why that happened.
Okay, I'll take that. The group were able to secure funds from other sources for the brush mower. And on that basis and with that, effort that they put in, of course, we don't want to deny them the ability to use the funds that we had already approved for that. So where they got that, and now they can do more. And that's the reason for the reallocation of funds for other items.
It's good that they came back to us.
Yes,
That's right.
If they could do it.
yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
That was the last item.
Last item? Okay, nothing late for finance from staff? Nope. Okay, I'm gonna turn it over to 7.2 planning and traffic to our chair, or Councilor Laura.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Planning and Traffic Committee met on May 7th, 2024, and the following items were recommended for council approval. Request to complete first order of bilingual signs for town streets. Be it resolved to place the first order of bilingual signage for streets in base area within the town of Stephenville. I so move.
Moved by Councilor Aylward, seconder, second Councilor Shan. Just a little edit for clarity. It's not the base area for the first round, it's the town site, which was known as the.
Wire.
Yeah, the Acadian.
Yes.
So the old part of town, we refer to
Right.
it as
Or
the core of town, yeah,
The base.
yeah. So, I'm wondering if, any comments?
Just comment, it's just a welcome thing. We're always talking about tourism and so on. And just for people who come from Quebec or people even visiting France or St. Pierre and Miquelon, it's a welcome site. It sort of says you're welcome here as well, not just signage. And I think it's so good for us to move in that direction. Because if we look at our back wall here, we're looking at our Canadian connection.
yeah, and street signs is going to have some of these murals also on the
Yeah.
signs.
Yeah.
So they need
On
it.
each end.
Yeah.
I wonder if I could just speak on it, I'll turn over the gavel to you. Yeah, so, we've been working, for quite some years with our Acadian associations, Pavanou, the Francophone Association, both Deputy Mayor Susan Fallow and myself. We started working on this file back before COVID. We did sign a proclamation of council in, I believe it was November of last year, that our aims and objectives is to increase our Acadian and French presence in our town. We were known as the Acadian town, and we're adjacent to the most French district of the province of Tatternouve, the Port Peninsula. So in working with these associations, we had strived to do some work, and we started with murals here with the French Acadian flag. Our goal would be to do all the signs in Stephenville, all of our street signs over time. I think we have about 110 streets in town. Don't correct me if I'm wrong, it might be more now, but it's over 100 streets. And we are now working also towards a daycare facility that the French Association and the federal and provincial government have identified Stephenville is being considered. Daycare is critical in this province, but because we have a high representation of French in the region, we're being looked at for that. In last year, we partnered with the European Union with a suburb of Paris, 50,000 people. It's not a really small suburb in our scale of things, but it's Saint-Germain-sur-Laye. And they had representatives that came to Stephenville. And we talked about some of the things we were going to do to bring the French culture to the forefront in our town. And with that delegation, we talked about street signs, but it takes time. But here we are today, looking at voting to give approval to move forward with this important file. So I thought that was important. So I'll take back the gavel. All in favor? Carry.
Item B, I
Mr.
think
Mayor,
that's gonna be,
thing, I would like to see that deferred because finance never had a chance to unfortunately have a review of the policy because it do affect members of finance.
So
That never came to finance.
on this one here,
Yeah.
item B,
Item B, yep.
yeah, so this was a motion that, remember, each member of council can bring a motion to the table prior to a meeting. So this was a request for me at the planning meeting. And at the planning meeting, we had 6 of 7 councilors at the meeting. And it was basically to discuss and debate, like we could now, about our procedures for the structure of our meetings, to follow the municipal act and the guidelines. And so basically, I think it's more appropriate to have the discussion, the debate, because it'll allow us to move forward under the recommendations of the municipal government. And it's basically referring to, it's not a finance item. It's not a planning item. It's just that this norm of how we held our meetings. This council that was elected 2.5 years ago has, we have a little bit of questioning with new councilors, should we continue? But this is the forum, the public meeting to have that debate. So my recommendations is we would ask for a motion and a seconder, and we would have discussion and debate.
Excuse me, before we move into that though, I mean, in reviewing the policy again, after planning that, I mean, I would support Councillor Roberts' request to defer, because there's also a HR component to that policy. On who's responsible for what.
Well, if it's an HR issue, it shouldn't be discussed at a public meeting.
Well, there is a HR issue within that policy.
This is, just for clarity, this is about how,
Is, just for clarity, this, I think you're talking about the thing that you said you wanted to bring forward as a motion, which was around the attendance at meetings.
oh,
But this is.
No, that one's under your business.
Right, this is the
oh,
policy.
okay, this one, okay, this is further.
Basically on the formatting of the meeting, how to prepare the timeline to get the information forward,
Oh,
right?
this is for the public and
Yeah.
council dealing with.
Yes, I think what it is, it's the way it's worded here. Because the one that we're looking at is committee meeting planning and preparation.
Right,
That's the one that we're,
which is
which is there.
basically.
And here it's,
deadline.
yeah, it's worded sort of differently here.
Stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure.
Yeah, this,
HR component.
reading this is, this is about the committee and council meeting policy of what I have requested as a motion for discussion and debate at a public meeting.
My contention is, and you refer to it, you had 6 or 7 at a planning, so that I'm the one that wasn't there. I'm not a finance. I'm not available to go to planning meetings. So I shall have a fundamental right to review any policies before discussion come to council table. This is not something you can sit around the council table in a general meeting, discuss policies one way or the other. It should be discussed among all members to be bring forward.
I guess respectfully, each of us is sent information for both meetings. And part of our responsibility as council is to read and prepare for meetings and understand that. So whether I attend finance meeting or planning meeting, I still need to be prepared and read and understand what's happening there. So I don't see where this one would have been a discussion item for a finance committee.
Excuse me, I always prepare for my meetings. This was not part of my package. Attachments on the pending agenda wasn't part of my package. It was on, I found out last night. I emailed one of our employees and subsequently received it late last night or this morning.
Or you emailed more than an employee, because I got.
Well, that was the deferral of the thing there because we never did discuss it. I never see, it wasn't part of the planning package that was emailed.
It was emailed to everybody. Finance and the planning was
So,
emailed to everybody.
From a rule for procedure, this is not clearly, just for clarity as to chairperson, as a rule for procedure. A request is to put a motion to the table to discuss how our committees are operating under the Municipalities Act and recommendation. So the reason this is so important is that come January 1, Municipalities Act was going to change, and just in case I don't get this right, because Candace, you did the symposium also, is that it's designed that your committees don't hold a quorum as recommended. And that's how this council from 3 years ago roughly has been running. But we got some questioning that council, from the new councilors, that they don't really believe in it or don't want to. And it's but it needs to come to the table for clarity, so we can move forward. Just,
But that's got nothing to do with this policy.
No.
That's got to do with the one under new business, what you're into there now, yeah.
So what we need to do is we need to reframe this policy in the motion, because I'm reading this policy as if,
It's the policy that was put forward that we looked at. It's an actual policy. We're voting to accept the policy or not accept,
okay,
right?
yes. So this policy, okay, let me get this.
Yeah.
So
It's confusing.
this policy here has been discussed by council several times. Am I correct?
We've been following this policy in preparing for our meetings now for the last several weeks, and we're just trying to formalize it.
Yes. So this is driven by management to ensure that a high order of procedural processing and non-interference of council and members of the public, that it's a process that is a clear communication when people want to receive information or have meetings. And it's really to ensure that we have a heightened level of efficiency in our operation. So this has been discussed, Council Roberts, many times. And from the last meeting we had, we went back one small edit to it. Correct?
I can also give an update, because I know.
Yeah, so let's turn it over to our Assistant Deputy Administrative Officer, because this is coming from management.
I know, Councilor O'Brien, that you were referring to, human resources issues that might be in the body of that, but we identified that there was a little glitch there, that we missed when it comes to staff responsible, but we did collaborate with the entire staff, people who are in and out of the office. And we came back and we fixed the few little glitches that are there. So the order of who's responsible, and in the absence of, we've finalized all of that, cleaned it all up, and now we all agree internally that this is the process for staff to adhere to as we're preparing for committee meetings and public meetings.
So do we have a final copy of it, or am I looking at a draft again?
There should be a copy.
I mean,
I just be in the wrong order.
So what I'm reading in, this is the title, is the committee meeting planning and preparation, which we had said, yes. But the wording in there makes it sound different, okay? So, yes. And this is the one that we've been looking at, trying
Yeah.
to follow.
That one right now.
So we have a motion and second are on the table. So what we need to do,
no,
go around.
no,
So,
we're still talking about Darren's request to,
Yeah, we can't put that request until we do a motion in a second.
okay,
So we did have a motion from
but
council.
if you did defer, you know, you choose to defer, it's the council's right to defer if the council chooses to do so. If
And that would be a motion from council to defer, not one person or two people, that would be the majority of council.
yeah, that can come at any time.
Yeah.
Well, I think Councillor Roberts has asked to defer this. So, did you want to put that in the motion, Councillor Roberts?
Staff responsibility, town clerk, staff responsibility, town clerk, in the absence of.
Darren,
Oh, sorry.
I said that you're
I would.
the one requested it, so
Yes, I would.
you want to put that in the motion?
So let's take the motion.
I would like to further,
Under,
under planning, 7.2B, and request to adopt meeting policy be deferred.
So we have a motion for deferral of item B in the planning department. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Councilor. So under a procedural basis, remember, when you have a motion and the seconder, it is not always that the people that are motion second are supporting it.
No,
It's to get it on the table for discussion. So I will open it up for debate and discussion.
although I will vote in favor of deferral, out of respect for Councillor Roberts and whatever concerns he may have, for it, the HR issue I was referring to, Mary just gave me the final draft. I was, the issue I had, it was has been resolved.
And the other point of note, the correction actually brought it in compliance with the municipal act. What was previously written had some errors. And so upon notation of the discussion, it was corrected by staff to bring it into compliance with the municipal acts.
Like Councillor O'Brien, I sort of had the opportunity to read this, and the procedure looks very good. And as we discussed at the same time, we do have the opportunity, if we get something at short notice, to go to the CAO or the deputy CAO. However, make sure all councillors have an equal and fair opportunity. I will support Councillor Roberts' motion to defer.
So normally too, just on a procedural basis, is when councillors have their discussion and debate. You discuss and debate on the merit of your debate, but you should not make your intent known until, as chair, I call for the vote. Okay? Just for procedure. Anything to say?
Oh, I second the motion, so I will agree, yeah.
Any comments?
I actually didn't see anything wrong with that. That is the one that we just completed, right? So I don't see any reason to defer.
Deputy Mayor Susanto. No
But
comment?
Mayor, just for clarity though, the other day when this was being discussed, it was said that as members of council, we had up to 5 minutes before a meeting to go see the clerk to have something added to the agenda. This policy would wipe that out. The 5 minutes gone.
No, I got nothing to do with procedures of council's rights under municipal act. That rights of municipal act would supersede this. This is for meeting requests, looking for data collection. This is not the conformance of a public meeting. So we have discussion, we have a motion and a deferral. So I'm gonna hand over the gavel to Deputy Mayor Susan Falco. So before I take back the gavel and call for the vote. So basically, we have been staff. This was precipitated by staff to ensure that we have a heightened ability to manage our offices, our staff in a professional manner. That it would allow a good, clear communication for the public when they want to have meetings with staff. But also equally, no different, we're no different from the public in a sense. We might be elected as council and we play a different role. We only play a different role when it comes to policy and executive decisions at our level of council. We all have individual votes. I have one vote just like everybody else. I'm the spokesperson for council and ex officio that sits on committees. But coming out of this, it will actually allow the operation to be more efficient. It gives some clear guidelines. And as like Councilor Maurice Sine says, there's a little bit of common sense that if you're walking into the meeting and needed to ask the CAO something, that's not an issue. But question? Yeah. So basically, on that note, I'll take back the gavel. Try and get my procedure.
If I may, Mr. Mayor?
Tom,
If I may, Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead.
I know it was misconceptions. I'm not against policy or I'll just read the policy I've written. What it is, my understanding, this came up at planning, should also came up at finance for us that was discussed around the table also. That was my ultimate contention. It's not about developing policies or not developing policies.
Yes. So technically speaking, we had discussed this when you were there at a finance or a council of the whole meeting. Now, if we're having a discussion as a full council and we have full council at the meeting, of municipal affairs saying come January 1. We shouldn't be having that discussion without having that meeting. That's what they're telling us. So what they're really telling us that this discussion should be at this public meeting.
Still a bit of a confusion here, Mayor,
Between the two policies.
and I think that you're getting the two policies mixed. And let's be clear that what we have here, for the benefit of those who are having a hard time following. So this is about the process of preparing and providing information for the agenda, for the public meeting, for the agenda, for the committee meetings. And it has to do with submission cutoff time, who's responsible, the late submission handling, who's responsible, the agenda preparation, distribution, who's responsible. And the issue arose, which I'm thankful that it was distributed ahead of time so that it was caught. And the reaction to it also was our staff made representations that some of it may very well have been incorrect, and it was corrected. And so this doesn't have to do with the coming to see the CAO or others as far as the time of, making appointments or anything of that nature. This one is all about that and who acts in the absence of the various staff in those cases, and who distributes the emails, who holds the records, minute distribution for public, etc. So some of those items and action item follow up from it, and who's responsible for that. So it's really a functional policy manual item that and I think everyone got off a little bit confused at the beginning because the wording of it, as was said by councillors, a little confusing. Committee meeting planning and preparation versus committee meeting structure and functioning. So this one is committee meeting planning and preparation. And just an apology to the council, because we hope to bring forward policies for council's consideration to the committees and to the regular council meetings as we go forward in improving the policy manual for the town. And the best way for us to do this in our internal discussion, council will give us some guidance when we bring it to the next committee meetings, is to try to do a couple at a time, because there are areas where we have procedures that we're following that are not written down, and we act a certain way based on past practice. And that's really, it's much better, even if it gets written, we know we follow it to T. Something comes up, we go back and we double check to make sure we're doing it correctly. In this case, it was our error in having the incorrect personnel designated, and now it meets with the municipal act. And my apologies to you, Mayor, because I think you were thinking it was the other discussion that we were going to have later. But anyway, so that is the policy, and I appreciate just Councillor Roberts because the way it did unfold, you never had an opportunity to have any input into it through the committee process. So anyway, just.
So we have a motion, we have a seconder to defer item B. All in favor?
All right.
Great. Compromise.
To defer it. Yeah. It's
You
deferring.
You
I'll
vote
vote to defer it, yes.
Okay, you voting to defer? Okay. Carried. This
to
is
defer. Yes, that's correct.
So,
So did you get the correct?
Pre-compromise.
yeah.
Yeah.
Three compromise,
Compromise.
Yes.
4 carried. Okay, thank you very much.
Well, just to say a few things about this, I want to vote on it. Just to be fair to Councillor Roberts, give him a chance to go over this politics, and that's my reason for.
And as well.
Clarity of the provisions probably did
Pardon?
the clarity of the provisions that we made,
Yes.
when you send out your
Yes.
agenda, and then the agenda comes out again a while later, you guys can't hunt through it and find the revisions very easily. It's very difficult to do.
Yeah.
So,
So that was the main reason that, just to give Councillor Roberts a chance to further look at it.
So this will come back
So on.
after 2 weeks from now for,
Yeah, it has to finance first, I guess.
Yeah, if finance recommends it.
Yeah.
Saying that's really.
well,
Yeah.
I would state it like that. since you're
Yes,
finding-
another,
Yeah.
we need to have.
Okay, so anyways, Councillor, Edward, you can continue what you're.
Okay, item C, it's Be it resolved to approve the following permits pending further inspection, including fire and service NL approval, all of which have met the necessary guidelines as per Development Regulations 51. And the first item is 150 Minnesota Drive. It's Marco Medical Clinic, general permit to cut survey lines and build a medical clinic. This is all in one motion because it's all about. No, it's not all in one. There's two motions and will it go as separate motions?
You don't really even,
I have to read it.
your resolution is for all of them, even though they're for a variety of,
Yeah, okay, yeah. So really, I don't,
it's the list.
well, I guess for the public's information, 150 Minnesota Drive is a new medical clinic, Marco, and that's the groundwork's being done and everything. And then 2527 Consumer Drive, it's just a renovation request to replace skirting on a building. And the other one is 136, 138 Main Street, and that's Nomad Stages, and they're looking for a business and occupancy permit in compliance with all town regulations, all Stephenville development regulations. So that's those. That's the motion for those three.
Okay, do we have a seconder?
Seconder?
Second, I have to just, that's, we just got a clerical error in that motion, the first bullet.
Okay,
It's not the Marco Medical Clinic. It is,
They were a bidder.
it's what?
Marco was one of the bidders, they weren't successful. The GDR.
Oh, yeah.
In contracting,
Yeah,
that's who the permit request would have come in from. So
Right.
just for clarity.
That is an error. I think someone looked it up
Yeah.
and pulled an email with Marco on it. So
Yeah.
my apologies for that.
Yeah. So if you could,
Yeah.
just to have that noted for the record.
yeah, what's the name of the company? I guess,
Just let me, I'll get the actual,
yeah, it's a spin-off of,
It's a commercial division of Marine Contract.
it's called
spin-off
GDR,
of
GDR Enterprises LTD. You're limited.
GDR Ltd. It's a spin-off of Marine Contracting, right?
So if we could have that recognized in the minutes, Marilyn. Okay,
Okay,
all in favor?
I,
Carry.
request to adopt town hall visitors policy, resolves the attached policy be adopted by council. I so move.
Okay, moved by Council Lori, second Deputy Mayor Susan Fowler. Any discussion?
It's the same issue that I had with the 7(2)(b).
But did, just for clarity, would Councilor Roberts have received this in this package with the minutes,
I'm just going through my whole thing again.
the policy?
This one he did not, because when we met the other evening as a planning committee, we brought the copies then for people to discuss and to recommend any changes, but we didn't put it on the finance committee because we didn't think that it was a finance committee item, but I certainly appreciate.
So it's more of a planning item that if you were to pick one committee that this went to. Because remember, under municipal act, they highly recommend do not have more meetings. You have privileged meetings when it's something very privileged, HR, you're dealing with a tax deal with a corporation. You call a special meeting for urgency, but the norm under municipal act is you follow your sequential public scheduled meetings and your sequence of planning and finance prior. So this has been discussed even prior to our last planning meeting, and it went back for some changes, netted, I believe. So we'd be prudent to have it read and discussed and debated on, and it's just a policy we're moving forward. Darren Roberts, Council Roberts, all of us had discussion about this. But if we defer it for 2 weeks,
Not going to be in the world.
it's not going to end the world, but it just, why wouldn't we deal with it now? It's on the agenda item. Other than that, we're gonna have to ask for a motion to defer, do a vote to see if it's gonna be deferred, or do the majority of council feel we have enough information on this to vote, discuss, debate, question, and vote on it? Councilor Roberts.
If you're asking me to vote on the policy, nobody discussed it, and there's revisions, supposedly there's revisions made to it. I don't know what they are.
So you did not receive the
Just-
final version.
I just confirmed from the deputy CEO that I never received the final version. So how can I make it, how can I vote yes or no against something that I never had a chance to review?
So is that it?
Yeah.
there?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think what we need to be sure, I think that certain things are gonna go to the planning committee that aren't gonna be discussed at finance, the same way that things at finance aren't gonna be discussed at planning, but we need all of us to get a copy of the items that are gonna happen at each meeting so that we're informed,
Yeah.
right? So, I would agree with you there. If you haven't read it, then obviously you can't make an informed vote.
and I guess for a procedural of this meeting, and if not if Councilor Roberts has it, if he wants to take time to read it, and discuss it, we can allow that, or he would have the option to put a motion to defer. So it'll come back in 2 weeks' time. So it'll be.
Just, yeah, and understanding the way the process has now happened, I think Councillor Roberts is certainly, we understand fully why he suggests, but now that you've got a motion on the table, you do one, two things. You could amend the motion to defer. So if the motion is on the table, you're going to defer it until, and then it just sort of goes away until it gets brought back again. That might be a way of doing it, rather than voting on the motion of the item, if in fact you want to give grace to Councillor Roberts to go and review it until the next meeting.
Yeah, so based on recommendations from our CAO, Councilor Roberts, what's your position?
I would like to defer because I like to look at that
Okay,
in relation to the previous policy. So I can get on, see how it affects everything. So I make a motion to defer.
CEO said the chair of planning would have to amend the motion, right?
no, we're not amending.
No, anyone can amend the
No.
motion on the table. So basically, any member of council can ask for an amendment to the motion. That's if you want to do it on this motion.
But he's asking for deferral, not,
Yeah, but deferral could be, a motion to defer.
yeah, yeah.
And then seconded by
Yes.
the councillor, and then it goes away until such time as it's agreed.
So the initial motion was on the table, went to discussion, and the discussion, not to go through a vote. So we would ask Councilor Roberts, similar to the previous one, to defer this, and we'll go for a seconder and we'll do a vote on it. So Councilor Roberts, do you want to state your motion to defer?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we would defer item under planning, request to adopt committee, adopt to down hall visitor policy to a later.
Moved by Councilor Dan Roberts, seconder.
Second.
Second, Councilor Myra White, all in favor?
I,
Carry. Okay,
last item, unless there's late items, a request to designate community cleanup. It resolved that a community cleanup take place on Saturday, May 25th, 2024, between various community group volunteers and the town of Stephenville Public Works Department. I so move.
moved by Councilor Edwards, seconder.
Second.
Second, Councilor Dan Roberts. Just want to say that great initiative, getting our community groups, but keeping our town clean is everybody's responsibility. We have a beautification committee that does a great job. They do a lot of work on repairing from winter damage. That's a big plus, all the greenery cutting and so forth. But it is part of our business, so all in favor?
I,
Everybody's responsibility.
just to say, there is a meeting of beautification on the 15th
Okay.
at 7:30.
Okay.
So anybody wishing to come to the meeting as a volunteer to, in connection with this, would certainly be invited to come at 7:30.
Meeting here. Here?
Here, yeah, at the council chambers, yeah, at 7:30.
Probably, you had mentioned about that, easement area. Beautification committee could get cleaned up
Yep.
because a lot of walking, we can get that trail established here. Be a great idea to get that moved on. Okay, is there anything late for planning?
No, no,
Nothing from
I'm saying no, but I don't have anything here.
Okay. Okay, new business.
Mayor, under new business,
Unfinished bylaws, regulation, we
Well-
mentioned, we did some, deferrals on a regulation and no, that would have been a policy. Okay, so nothing for bylaws and regulations. Unfinished business. Anything on unfinished business?
No.
Okay, item number 10, new business. So we have 2 bullets in new business, and remember, this is the section that any counselor can bring up anything new or unfinished. We don't have unfinished, that's ongoing files, but anything new, I got a couple of ones to mention for new business. So the first bullet, council and staff will be completing Indigenous cultural sensitivity training at the Stephenville Legion on May 14, 2024 and May 16th. I want to thank the Legion for hosting that important training workshop because inclusion in cultural sensitivity training is important for our staff and our council because we're the image and we're the representatives of the citizens of Stephenville. So having this training is very, very important. I would recommend, I've had the training in the past and I found it very, very rewarding and I guess respecting and so forth. But I think it's important for everybody to have it so that we can be better stewards of our community. Okay, the next bullet. Yeah, so I'm gonna put,
So I think you have.
Yeah.
Chair.
do I put, you want to chair this? Sorry.
Keep going to next, I think this is,
Yeah, so, I'm gonna put a motion on the table and then we'll look for a second or discussion date. And it's respect to our community structure, that, sets us in motion for our public meetings. They're called the Finance Committee and the Planning Committee. I'll put a motion for the structure of the Finance Committee and the committee and the Planning Committee to be adopted by council. Now, we've never taken it to, since I've been the mayor ever, it's just happened, but there's some concern over it. So I think it's time to discuss it, debate, so we can move on and keep it nice and clean. So that's my motion. So discuss.
So what,
details of your structure.
yeah, you need to express the details of your structure.
Do I need to do that now?
Yeah, that's,
Okay.
the committee.
So let me, so clearly there's legislation in place in the municipal act, but, guides us as counselors, mayors, deputy mayors, staff, and how to perform our duties as a council. And then there's recommendations, and you gotta remember, not every single thing, every piece of everything we do is in a document, but it's a code, it's a municipal handbook and guides us for good governance. So as we learned from our training in Gander the weekend, what municipal affairs is basically saying is that there's 256 communities in the province. Some are doing it right, some are not really doing it right. Some, and they vary. But at the end of the day, they refrain and they recommend that we should not be meeting as a quorum of a council. A committee should not be formed. They represent a quorum to be making recommendations to go to the public meeting, because then your quorum actually kind of exists That's why, and since I've been on the council as the mayor, in the municipal act as the mayor, I get to appoint who sits on the planning, who sits on the finance. And it tends to be who's got competencies in those areas. That's normally how it works. So I've appointed a finance committee of 3 councilors. Clearly, a committee of 3 then has a chairperson. I appoint the chairperson. So before the by-election, the chairperson of finance was Councillor Myra White. The chairperson of planning is Councillor Elwood. They chair the meeting, because as the mayor, I'm not allowed to chair those meetings. I'm only an ex officio. I chair privileged meetings, special meetings, and public meetings. That's the only ones I'm supposed to chair. So for example, the other day we had a planning meeting where 2 members of finance were at the planning meeting. That's not recommended because you had 6 people there. And what happens, the discussion and debate could kind of create an agreement of where you're heading at the public meeting. And then at the public meeting, and it's evidence that at the public meeting, they become less informative to the public, but your decision matrix, your discussion, and your debate. So my motion is to continue, because even when Councillor Myra White elected, and she was on finance, she was coming to the planning, we recommended to her that you shouldn't be coming to the planning, because you need to get to the public meeting and discuss, debate, and question the motions of planning. And that creates a heightened level of openness, transparency, recommended by Municipal Affairs. So my motion is to accept and continue the recommendations of are structured as it exists. So all council is compliant with that.
So
So what does that mean though, in terms of committees, that there be 3 plus an ex officio on the committee and that other committee outside members do not attend?
Correct.
Kind of, that's what I'm trying to get you to do, something.
just if I may, and we've all received information from Municipal Affairs, and they encourage councils to avoid having a quorum discussing and reviewing items it doesn't really impede debate at the public meeting, but with the concept that the public needs to hear the debate on items that were discussed in committees, that the number of 3 in this circumstance where we have 7 total councillors, including the mayor. So that's 7. 3 keeps the committee small and tidy to be able to review an item. Notwithstanding that, we can still have items fully reviewed by both committees separately. So then you constitute the full council anyway. If we have items that go on a planning basis to the planning committee, the 3 that are on the planning committee, and on a finance basis to the finance committee, if there are finance elements to a decision that would impact the decision, and then come forward to council. So both committees can look at items, but in the area of finance items, it gets brought forward and then debated here at the table and discussed and passed. In the area of planning, sometimes there's a discussion as to whether something should have been reviewed by finance as well. And maybe some of the contribution to that is in our circulation of documents. There's a possibility that we've created a situation where everyone hasn't received all the documents. So even though as council, each individual councilor has a right to see all of the information from either of the committees. And we missed that in a couple of cases. The mayor's ex officio role in a committee meeting is generally supposed to be as a non-participant but observer, and not to try to sway the discussion and decision that a committee may take, even to a point where some of the advice we got from Municipal Affairs, and they have some differing opinions on this as well, as I've been told. Sometimes you hear it one way, and other times you hear it the other. But the key is that the committee itself make a recommendation that leads to debate and public review of a decision that a committee may recommend. So there's no real decision at committee level, it's a recommendation. And, but I also understand, and there are many things going on island-wide about some towns and cities are now using a committee of the whole. So it's a thorough review of the committee, which may happen in January because municipal affairs have now decided that even committees are going to be public. And that is intended to change as of January 1. So, and, you know, you can look at it with those different elements of the overall process. The way that the Municipal Act and the handbook suggests for that reason, and that's primarily to have, in the case of a council of 7, 3, if you have 2 committees, you can have 3 committees or whatever your town wants to use. So, you know, there's to suggest one way is right or one way is wrong is probably incorrect, because council may decide what council wants to decide. Really, you can go totally different from that if that's sensible. So I just wanted to add that little.
So I just want to, I mean, we need a motion on the table first.
Yeah.
And we need a seconder, then we can call a question to discuss it. So
the motion is for the adoption of a 3-person committee of council appointed by the mayor. As it stood, this elected council for planning and finance. Mayor's ex officio. So, and so that's the motion,
so,
to adopt how we've been doing it.
okay, so in that motion, you're leaving it open then for others to attend.
No.
Well, should that go?
No,
in
no.
the motion?
See, here, you can't say others cannot attend. It's the decision of said committee, usually as to whether others are allowed to be heard at the committee. So the chair of a committee can basically make that. It can be an encouragement not to attend, to provide that level of debate, but there is no, we can't say.
Well, then the motion is a moot
Yeah.
point.
No, because if I can say something here, I really don't agree. And I don't think, doesn't matter what in the handbook or municipal affairs or whatever. And Councillor O'Brien probably agreed with me on this. In all the years here at sitting at this table, we've never, ever been told that you can't attend one committee or another. We attended both committees years and years ago. We always attended both committees.
Yeah, so
And councillors can talk about anything at the table. That's what we're elected for. And not only that, you can't be stopped from speaking at the table unless you're out of order. But we're elected to represent the taxpayers, the community. And me as chair and you as chair, if I want you to come to planning, yes, I say, Myra, would you come to planning this week or whatever? That's my right as a councillor. And nobody can take that from me.
So can I just speak? So Councillor, we just for clarity now, times are changing.
Doesn't matter. They can change, they might change in January, Mayor Rose, but they're not changed now.
Time. So what they're saying is, municipal affairs, is that we should not be holding meetings privately discussing. We have a quorum in the room.
Mayor, just for a procedural thing, you made the motion, so I mean, just for the procedural thing, I'll second that.
Motion, because it doesn't make, I don't know
Aye.
if the motion
But-
made any sense. He
but-
made a motion of what already exists. So is that necessary?
Yeah,
Is there necessary?
but
So
see,
we want to adopt the structure. We have to have structure as a council.
But we got it now with the
we got
committee.
structure.
But the structure is not following suit how it has been. We normally meet with finance, we normally meet with planning for the designates in those committees. What municipal affairs is saying, if we open up each committee for every councillor, whenever they want to, creating a quorum in a committee of the whole, that you're starting to inform your decisions without the public having seen your discussion and debate, and that's wrong. That's what they're saying. And come January 1, the legislation says it. So
Okay.
how do we solve?
Yeah,
I
Councillor.
mean, if I may, you mean, first, you mean, I'll say, I totally agree with Councillor Albert. Secondly, the Municipalities Act, Section 25(1) says the town council may establish the standing or special committees that it considers desirable to consider and make recommendations on matters referred to them by council. 25, Section 2, a town council may appoint persons to serve on committees established under subsection 1, and where a council does not appoint persons to the committee, the mayor shall appoint those. So the two committees we're talking about can be appointed by council. If council fails to do it, the mayor can. But there's a conflict from what the mayor is saying that he learned in Gander. What I'm saying that I learned during the training. The mayor was speaking to the provincial manager of public municipal affairs. The lady that came out and done the training for us was the West Coast manager of municipal affairs. So there's a difference in opinion on what the mayor says he learned in Gander and what I say I learned at training here. And then the further conflict from what the CAO's decision, understanding for this. If we follow the CAO's interpretation of it, there's only 3 members on the committee. The member, and I'll caution the mayor on this one. There's 3 people on finance, 3 people on planning. If we follow the understanding that CAO got from municipal affairs, that leaves the mayor out of both committees. No, I don't think you will want that either, Mayor.
Let me just clarify something.
And second, no, I'm finished.
Let me just.
And the second, no, you mean, you clarify when I finish.
When you can.
You mean,
Court?
you mean, yeah, so you mean it's that's a clear understanding from the CAO in that regard. And the ex officio, and CAO was clear on this, ex officio is in the room and don't take part in the meetings. You take part in all the discussions
Let me
and
just
so,
the floor for a moment.
Okay,
As the mayor, I meet with a lot of companies and I'm the spokesperson of this council.
for your decisions of council.
Floor. I'm the spokesperson of this council and I have a lot of meetings on a lot of files. And I'm the spokesperson with my CAOs on all these files. That's pretty clear. When I come to these meetings, whether it's the Acadian file that we've been working on for the last 4 years, I'm there to give data and information, just like the management team. That's why I'm not the chair of those committees. Either Myra, Councilor White, or Councilor Elbert are chair. You chair those meetings. It's your 3 that makes the recommendation after you hear the data from staff and from ex officio, because I'm in a lot more meetings, know a lot more data than any individual council, because I have more meetings and are brought in by CAOs. When they have a meeting with somebody, they don't bring in the full council. When we get to these meetings, it's up to that committee to make a recommendation. I don't make them. It's up to that committee now. Now, those committee member meetings we have, you know what they're designed for the most part? They have as much time. Management and department heads come to those meetings. Why? They're the people that's given us the evidence to move these files forward, that they can go to council and go to the finance to be recommended. So it's department heads, managers that will then take it to that committee. The committee makes a recommendation, then go to the public meeting for the final public discourse and debate and discussion before we have chaired it. I'm chair of that meeting before I call for the vote. That's how municipal affairs wants it. What we did the other day with a planning meeting with 6 councilors there was no time for management and department heads to speak on all those files because there were 6 councilors there. That's not how we're trying to run this in a professional manner. That's why I have a motion on the floor that we accept our committee structure of 3 and 3 with the mayor's ex officio. And I would ask the chair that my motion be brought forward for a seconder and a vote.
Okay, well, it's been seconded by Councillor O'Brien.
Hmm.
I would like to give you the gavel and speak. You want to speak again?
Yep.
Okay, you go first.
The first thing I'll point out is, and I said this as, when I sat in the mayor's chair for 12 years. As mayor, I was not the spokesperson for council, I was the spokesperson for decisions of council. There's a big difference. In relation to the meeting the other day where there were six councillors present, I mean, the appropriate staff that felt they had to speak, spoke. So that didn't bar staff from speaking just because there were six councillors in the room. So you mean, it's, again, there's a three-way conflict here, three-way interpretation of what's, the way we interpret what we've gotten from municipal affairs. So I tend to agree with the deputy mayor, this motion really doesn't make sense. I second it just so that the procedural part of this would be correct.
Okay, I'm gonna
So
take
I
that.
just want, yeah, I just want to point out a couple of things as well. And Councillor Elwood, part of it is a bit of a disagreement to what you said. When I started here in 2016, the understanding I was given in terms of the committees was that the planning people attended planning and finance people attended the finance meeting. And if there was a request for information for clarification, we invited people to the meeting. In whenever it was, we were elected for this run of things, 2020, was it, or 2021? In 2021, when we did our training with the same person who did the training after the by-election, we were told clearly and asked the question for clarification. We were told clearly that we did not attend the other meetings because then there was no discussion that was going to happen at the meetings. And after that training, we specifically asked Councillor White not to attend the meetings because she was attending both, wanting to kind of be part of it. So it's not that councillors have been told, that we don't get to participate or whatever, but in terms of process and protocol, it has been happening. Whether you realized it or whatever, but you weren't going to finance meetings, you were going to planning, right?
I was, yeah.
So I just want to make that clear. So it's not just three-way, it's four-way confusion because we're getting two messages from the same person. And as a matter of fact, I talked to a number of people a couple of years ago because I taught the municipal governance course for councillors and mayors in the province. And I wanted clarification on that particular section, and the understanding that I had, and which is what I passed forward to the people who were attending, was that the meetings were half and half so that more discussion happened in the public meeting. If we don't do that, what we create is a committee of the whole, which is what we had the other day at planning. And I contend that when our meetings go 2.5 hours, that staff may be getting a chance to input, but a meeting that lasts 2.5 hours is not an effective meeting. And you look at the literature on that, and we should not be having 2 and 3 hour meetings. If we need more time, we need to have a different agenda or have a second meeting. The other thing is we may need to look at what I suggested a few years ago, which is block out every Thursday for council, every alternate Thursday. So this week is public week, next week is committee of the whole, where we get as a council to discuss some of the things that we need to be together to discuss or plan, not to make decisions on, but to create vision on. Anyway, that's my piece.
Okay, fine.
So, then you should make a comment.
No,
No, okay, okay.
I joke, but I'll let Maurice go
Okay.
first.
Yes.
No, okay. Councilor, I like what you're saying, because part of my issue is if I come to just the planning, okay, which I'm a part of, and there's things happening in finance. When I come to the general meeting and those parts of the staff are at finance or parts of the staff are at planning, I don't get to hear their explanation. And their explanation makes so much sense. And very often we rely upon them, which we should. So if there's an item on finance that I see on the agenda, I would like to be able to go so I understand where it's coming from, or vice versa. Because when we come to sit at our general meeting, we get I'll call it the Coles Notes version. I don't have enough information from what came from staff, if it came from Ira or Matthew. They give a really good explanation, but I've missed that. So for me to debate and ask questions, I feel I don't have enough to ask the right questions. It doesn't mean I'm not going to ask them even when I hear it. So what you said sort of seems to be a mix, but it allows all the counselors to hear all the information. Because sometimes we get a phone call or whatever, and we say, I don't know yet, okay? Or a good explanation after. By having the staff present, like we do at the finance, or we do at the planning, we get to hear it, I'll call it from the cold face and the people who are working there. And I like that idea. So it's not exactly as we had discussed 5 minutes ago, but I think that makes a workable solution to me. Okay, other people may find it a bit different. So I think we are at the point that we sort of know where we want to go, but we're not there yet. Okay, and I think that's okay.
Just.
So just one point, because I do know that it may seem, and it depends on the discussion. When we had the discussion with municipal affairs, both Candace and myself heard, and it wasn't saying that the mayor, as an ex officio, cannot attend a committee meeting, but that if the main way that a mayor should attend a committee meeting was either as a resource, similar to staff, or as a stand-in member of the committee, should one of the committee members not be available. And that's the only time at which the mayor should be directly involved in the committee's recommendation. But his information, similar to staff information, which he's carrying around because of all of those extra meetings and being the point of contact for many people as far as the town goes, is brought to the table as a resource to the committees and not necessarily, and of course, we all have our individual styles. So to suggest that he shouldn't attend at all is not really correct, but it's that he should be discouraged from attending just to have, input directly into everything. But if there are questions of the committee to the mayor, that's how that would work. And would you have anything different on that, Candace, or is that sound?
The only comment that I want to make in all of this discussion is that, yes, I acknowledge that there's several different interpretations of how municipal affairs use or recommend how committees should work or how council should work in their decision-making authorities, or, how that plays out, is that there's a number of different recommended ways. There is a recommended way that has been described. There's also a number of things that vary to the recommendations of municipal affairs. But I do know that it comes down to what's in the best interest of the particular council. So for you guys to make that decision on what works best for you and how you guys feel about making those decisions. And that's what it ultimately comes down to. Municipal affairs will accept anything that you guys put in place as a policy on how you run meetings.
Good.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm getting ready to close the discussion.
1 minute.
Quick and
Okay, I see we have 3 options. Option A, as we are, okay, finance planning. Option B, as a whole, or that hybrid one.
But we do have a motion
Yes,
on the table.
then we'll deal with that, and then, okay, thank you.
What I would say to that, if there's 4 people in the room, whether the mayor is ex officio or not, if there's 4 people in the room, that's a quorum council, which goes against the recommendation that's being put forward. Because at any point in time, the ex officio can become an acting member of the committee. As we just said, we should make a decision what's in the best interest and the best work for the town. Well, for the last, I shouldn't say the last, but my 12 years in the mayorship and 16, so the 28 years that Mayor Stein was the mayor and myself was the mayor, we had two committees, 3 council members on each committee. The mayor could attend all the meetings and participate in the meeting minutes, and the other members of the other committees were encouraged to come out, as the Councillor Elbert said earlier. So, I mean, it's and that served the town very, very well. And I can't see why it can't do it now. And to be crystal clear about this is, I mean, unfortunately, in the past, Councillor White wanted to attend planning meetings, but she was discouraged from doing so. It's only now come up to be the issue that it is since the by-election, and I got back on council, and I was appointed to finance, and I come to planning. The meeting was 2.5 hours the other day, because I think the first 40 minutes of it was a big discussion whether I should be able to stay in the room or not. So,
Madam Chair.
I mean, it's,
Okay, so that's,
and again, we spent a half hour at it today, so.
Can I make one
which is
comment?
why, no, I think Councillor Roberts is next.
Yeah, thing too, I'm overwhelmed with all the discussion here. There's so many variations.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's much of a consensus on the table, but just to make matters worse, in my previous life, we had committees. I just bring this out, and I was chair of committee, and anyone was welcome to come to my committee. However, it would only for information purposes only. If you request a question, they had to ask the chair, it's me, if they're allowed to ask a question of the staff, so they need clarification. When it went to our, it went appropriate documentation. So there's another variation in there that's.
Okay, and Councillor White, you got the last.
Mr. Myra.
Okay, Councillor White, Councillor Elward, then I'm gonna call for the vote.
In order for municipal affairs to make this change, something awful must be going on right across the fence. Because other than that, they would not have wanted to change what everybody was doing at the time. So something had to happen in order for them to start splitting. I can understand, because if you got too many people at a meeting, you got chaos, really. You're not really doing what you should be doing, because everything goes off on a different line. So as far as that went, and she did not come out and say to me, you can't go. She strongly recommended that I do not go. I would say I wouldn't have any problem going to the committee, other committee meetings, sit back, don't open my mouth, but listen to everything and leave, okay? But when she strongly recommended that I didn't go, now she never, not once did say, you're not going, whatever. I just, because of her position and her guidance to me, I took her recommendation and decided not to do that. I was just trying to learn more about the council and how every two different committee worked, right?
Okay.
So that's my take on it. So I'm
Thank
assuming
you.
that there's a good reason why they did what they did.
Okay, Councillor Elward.
Well, as we all know, to interpret the municipal act, in some cases, you have to be a lawyer. Because there's a lot of stuff in that act that's not, is contradictory to what another item would be. But I still feel that a councillor that was elected in this town by the taxpayers has a right to sit at any committee meeting at this table. And if they want to say something, doesn't matter if you're on finance or planning, you can say it. And that's what we're elected for. Doesn't matter how many's here, 6, because planning and traffic, you discuss everything from planning to finance. And that's the way you learn, Myra, as a new counselor, and you, Susan. Any new counselor, that's the way they learn. And at least you have the information and then you go forward to the public meeting. Then you don't have to have long discussions like we're having today at the council meeting, at the regular general meeting. And I don't feel that this new policy, like 3 people and the mayor, I think that if anybody wants to attend, they can attend. Now, if I want to come in here and I want to go to the finance meeting, I'd like for somebody to tell me, no, you can't come in. Because we as council have a right. And we don't always have to go by what municipal affairs says, unless it's a detrimental thing that's going to cause problems in the community or something like that. I think that as councillors, we have the right to speak on any issue pertaining to policy and things like that at any committee meeting.
Okay, all right, I'm gonna, in the interest of another 2-hour meeting, I'm gonna call for a vote. We've got a motion on the floor. Can you have the motion read? Yeah, you want the motion repeated, or
Yeah,
you want to read the motion?
no,
Okay,
I think there has been some variances there,
So
so
the motion is that the town council of Stephenville at this public meeting would adopt the committee structure of 3 persons sitting on finance, 3 persons sitting on planning and traffic, to deal with staff for only a recommendation. There's no voting, no quorum. That's why there's 3. Mayor's ex officio. Only a recommendation to go to the public meeting to be debated and discussed in a public forum.
And I second the motion for discussion purposes only.
okay, and before we vote, I'm confused because that motion really is exactly what we do now.
Yeah,
Yeah, but it's not being accepted.
It's not being followed.
It's not being followed, so.
But it is being followed because there are 3 on the committee and you are ex officio. The part that's not being followed is not spoken in the motion.
Okay, so let me just reiterate on the motion that other members of council, it's not recommended that they attend opposing committee meetings, as it takes away from the democratic process.
So to me, that would be the motion. Yeah, that,
Well,
Let's vote on it. I mean, it's gonna be here to summertime.
but what are we voting?
Exactly, that's what I mean.
So to me, the motion either has to be something like, councillors who aren't designated for a particular committee do not attend the meetings of that committee. If you put that motion forward,
I don't, like, I really think you're running afoul
No.
of Ms. Black. You can't do that.
well, that's what I'm looking for.
We can't say they will not
Right,
attend or not entitled to attend. They're entitled to attend
Yes.
just by virtue of being councillors.
Good.
The mayor is entitled to attend any meeting of council or its committees as the next official.
right. So that's what I'm trying to say, that the only thing that would make sense, that would be outside of what we're doing now is if you were to make a motion restricting, people's attendance, because we can't really make that motion. The motion of a committee structure doesn't seem to make sense. We can vote on that and enforce exactly what we're doing.
So what you're saying, if we can't do that, can I reframe the motion to say that all committee meetings with a quorum council has to be a public meeting? Because that municipal affairs saying we should not be having committee meetings with a quorum without being public.
Yeah.
I think we need,
what we're gonna-
and look at a
My
motion.
recommendation would be that we bring council together with a committee of
Yes.
the whole, and we look at an operational.
Yes,
Operationalizing our committee structure.
yes.
It may mean that we put regulations in place to restrict it that we bring forward. It may mean that we work with the chairs of our committee so that they understand and chair the committee more tightly or rigidly to control it getting out of control, or we may decide that our committees are all committees as a whole. But I think those are decisions we could make in a
Yes,
meeting of council versus here. I don't see
Yeah.
this,
So a privilege meeting.
yeah.
Okay, let's book a privilege.
So the motion is on the table, it's been moved and seconded, so
So we need to
which,
remove it.
withdraw.
Withdraw.
I brought to withdraw the motion.
Okay,
And request this, item of discussion and to be brought to a privileged meeting of council
yes,
Yeah,
for decision matrix.
yes,
okay.
okay,
And does that motion need to be seconded?
this, second,
I'll agree to, I'll agree to withdraw.
yes, that's good, yeah,
Okay, and
all in favor, I guess.
all in favor?
favor,
Aye. Carry.
Okay.
No, resolve.
No.
No.
Carry.
Yeah.
Okay, so, I got a couple things up in business before we call for adjournment.
I got a couple things to here.
Maureen?
So, basically,
it is.
I'd like to start off by saying
Another meeting
that
at 3.
on behalf of myself, and I'm sure all council, that we pass on our sincere condolences to the Mr. Brian Lush, who, just recently passed, and for, the impact that it's had on our community and his immediate and extended families. I want to say that. The other thing I wanted to mention is that, we received, when we do a request for proposals, for consideration for, divesting assets of the town, whether it's land, equipment, or buildings, there's a process. And we tend to get a trigger. Don't always have to have a trigger to say we want to sell something, but we had a presentation this week by a couple of companies who want to acquire land. We've had other companies, and we are going to be moving forward shortly with additional RFPs for land sale on Carolina Avenue. And I just want to put that out there. It's nice to keep it public. The last thing I want to say is, in this fiscal year, and it's always with tendering, and but we do have approvals on upgrades to Main Street this year, upgrades to Russell Heights, upgrades to Rose Avenue. The projects will roughly come in at $10 million. And the town of Stephenville has invested $2 million towards upgrades to water and sewer to ensure that a higher water quality and infrastructure exists in the town of Stephenville. Roughly $8 million of that will come from the federal and provincial government. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, not only the quality of water, but also the quantity of water. But I get a couple things under new business. One, you mean has the town contacted Bell regarding the cell service? I mean, it's cell service. Some sections of town that has been declining. I mean, on Hanson Highway, once you pass M&F Motors, most times now you lose service. I mean, down on the say the beach side of West Street, the closer you get to Kittens, the cell service drops off. So I mean, if we haven't, I mean, I think we should be asking Bell some questions. I mean, the voice service dropping off, maybe it's because there's more users coming on, and if they got any plans for any upgrades to their system and their service. The other thing I'd like to bring up is in speaking with the town manager, and there's questions come up under new business for a number of meetings now regarding the airport, the deal around the airport. The town manager did speak to the chair of the board, and the chair of the board, you know, touching base with members that were on the board that possibly coming.
But I, following our discussion the other day, I will go back to him too.
And to end off, my work on under new business, I'd certainly like to extend a big congratulations to Lady of Mercy Church Committee. Joanne, the chair of the committee, with a lot of support from the community, province, and the nation, and certainly outside. It's a great success. $50,000 is going to go a long ways for the committee under. Even my darling wife, kind of out of her nature, even called in the open line.
Oh, did she?
Too close, yeah.
I didn't hear. Oh, well.
The first time she was ever on open line and she used to hear me say, I hate to hear myself on the radio. I sound so bad to myself. After she went on promoting the church and the great save, she listened to herself. She said, now I know what you mean. But a big congratulations to the committee.
Yeah, well, yeah, yes,
There's going to be,
I'll second that.
there's going to be a lot of people come to
Yeah,
from
yeah.
around the province and outside because this has been promoted so much.
Yes, yes, absolutely right. But the thing that needs to be corrected, and I hope it has been, the national news said the town of Stephenville.
Okay.
Yes, they did.
I didn't see.
What they said, the town of
Church.
Stephenville.
Better build one.
Tell Joanne, town of Stephenville.
But I forgot to mention that part of that was to bring the church up here.
Yeah, they tried to bring the church up here,
I
yeah.
know if they come to Steve, they won't have any trouble finding someone to reach to them.
I think all that.
But anyway,
I think all that, the sharing on the website, Facebook really did a lot for us as well. So we did gain something from Facebook. That was really good.
that was a positive thing, yeah.
And our MHA, Tony Wakeham, done a good job with presenting on the floor of the house. I mean, every bit counts, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you're right. So, I want to say as well, we're saying goodbye to a big volunteer in this community, David Rex.
Yes.
And, a man that was everywhere in the town, whatever was on the go, you know, Dave Rex was there.
Yeah.
And, there is a reception tonight at the Lions Club, and I believe it's at 7:00.
Yes.
And the Lions
Yes,
Club
it
is
is.
named for him, correct?
Yes, they're-
Community garden is, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's on the go this evening, but, and the sympathies go to his family as well. A little bit, I won't speak much on the hospital issue, except for to say that, as the West Coast Healthcare Committee Chair, I want to put a shout out there to volunteers that we need new members really bad, because our committee is dwindling up. You know, we had one person that passed away and other people are probably got a new boyfriend, even though they're seniors, that probably don't want to be involved too much anymore and stuff like that. So, no, it's not me. I don't have a boyfriend, but anyway. Anyway, I always thought that.
Right there.
I always thought Darren was gonna be my boyfriend, but he always reneged on that. But anyway,
I'm sorry.
we're still having issues at our hospital here with the mammogram, and we have a meeting coming up on the 17th, which is good, with Western Health representatives. That's really, really good. And I toured the new hospital on Saturday in Corner Brook, and I would advise you that if you get a chance to go and have a look, it is, I can't even describe, you know, that new hospital, because it's for the benefit of the patients, like it's all private rooms. And that's a big difference. And there's a lot of other features that's there for the patients. And but we are still having struggles with the anesthesiology and recruitment of doctors. Now, I was told there's a locum doctor in St. George's for a month. Now, that was good news, because they haven't had a doctor in St. George's. But anyway, that's my spiel on the hospital issue right now. But I would appeal to volunteers to come on our West Coast Healthcare Action Committee.
Okay, sure.
Oh, just, well, I guess 2 items now. One is I'll start off by saying, in case everybody's noticing me fanning myself, I'm going to say again that this beautiful chamber is so hot
Yeah.
that I think we should either blow the windows out, like create some windows for putting air conditioning units. So I'd like to recommend that maybe management have a look at what can be done. I know it was a good weight loss program for me to sweat it out, but there's more than me. The other thing I'd like to say is, a number of years ago, we worked really hard on adopting and having designed a new logo that said Stephenville, embraced by nature. And it has disappeared off the walls and the radars and everything else. And I would like to see it come back. And the other thing I would like to see happen that's tied into that, I was really shocked a couple of years ago when somebody was coming to town and they said, they were coming for a meeting and they didn't know where the town office was, and they couldn't find it, they drove right by it. So out of curiosity, I asked some people, especially like a few teenage types, do you know where the town office is? Not a clue. And so as I look at it approaching here and stuff, there's really nothing. If you come this way, it looks like a fire hall. And if you come this way until you get through the trees and see basically our crest, which is so small you can't see anything, there's nothing that really identifies the town office. So I would like us to consider some kind of signage that makes it a little easier to find.
So I know there's a Stephenville identifier out on the building. But like you said, it doesn't say town hall. Most every community you go to,
Yeah,
look and you see a big thing just
Yeah.
says town hall.
yeah.
Maybe that's what we need, something along those lines with Stephenville logo
Point.
around it or near it.
Good point.
Okay, so on that note,
No,
I'm,
no, no.
I need a motion to adjourn.
No.
Absolutely.
You're fine.
Second, can I get a seconder?
You
Can I
don't,
get a second?
I'll second it.
There we go.
Second, okay.
But I'll point out that you skipped over the, number 11 on the agenda, which is notice of motion. Which, the three motions that, I gave you the notice and the motion on. However, I won't get upset with you for doing that, Mayor, because I was going to suggest we're exactly 2 hours into this meeting now, so in the interest of time, I will postpone it once again to the next meeting.
Sounds good. Okay.
Thank you, Councilor.
All in favor?
Very much.
All in favor. It is,
Thank you,
3:01
Councilor.
PM.
Done.
It is a 3-hour meeting.
No, 2 hours.
2 hours.